Regular council meeting of the City of Joliet, Tuesday, January 6, 2015. Mayor Tom Durrani presiding. Father Chris Groh from St. Mary Magdalene Church will do the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thanks, Father Chris.
Please stand.
Before I do the invocation this evening, I would just like to pause for a moment and gather our prayers as one for Dr. Bill Liemacher. As we all know, Billy Liemacher has been very active in the city and a real promoter of the city of Joliet, especially at Bicentennial Park. Dr. Liemacher passed away on Sunday, and we hold his family and especially Billy in a very special way this evening. Almighty God, you generously bestow your gifts in abundance to us. We are most grateful for all that you continue to do and for the many favors which you grant. We come together in your name, Lord, and ask that you may enlighten the members of our city council so that everything they do may be done with inspiration and with wisdom. God of wisdom and justice, through you all authority is rightly administered. Laws are enacted and judgments are decreed. We ask your guidance, Lord, upon our mayor, the members of our city council, our city manager, and our city staff. Give them the strength to know your will so that all decisions may be pleasing to you. May their work be conducted with righteousness, and may they always promote what is for the good and welfare of all the citizens of Joliet. We likewise, Lord, commend to your care all the residents of our city, that they too may be blessed and sanctified, so that we may work all together for the betterment of the city of Joliet and enjoy the blessings promised to those who remain faithful to you. For we pray to you, our Lord and God, now and forever. Amen.
Amen. Before we start the Pledge of Allegiance, could we have a moment of silence for Patricia Groh, Father Chris Groh's mother? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with roll call. Mayor Durrani.
Here?
Councilwoman Gavin.
Here.
Councilman Girl.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilman McFarland. Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Odekirk.
Here.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Here.
Councilman Turk.
Here.
Before we start on the agenda, last evening, Councilman McFarland asked Jim Smith a couple questions about the Rialto sign, et cetera, and I would entertain a motion to have him address the questions at this time.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Jim?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council, and thank you very much for amending the agenda to allow me to speak. Again, I'm Jim Smith. I'm chairman of the WCMEAA. Last night at pre-council, there were several questions and issues that were raised, and frankly, I didn't have the answer off the top of my head. And rather than make a guess, you know, that wouldn't have been the appropriate thing to do. And so we did some research today, and I think I have those answers for you. Plus, I believe we have some handouts for the council.
Right.
Specifically, it was Councilman McFarland that asked both questions. And the first question, a very relevant question, and he asked me very forthrightly, is Landmark Sign Company a union company? Keeping in mind, this was a 2007 issue at our board. Randy nor I really had the answer off the top of our head, but I believe there's something you just received, that Landmark logo. I'm not going to bore you with reading the whole thing, but they are a fully union company. And what's more, we are going to, I'm not as in touch with this maybe as others, but we are going to instruct them to coordinate with the local union or building trades people before any job is begun. So I think the letter speaks for itself. A second issue that Councilman McFarland asked was, could you tell us a little bit about the various sign company responses? And obviously, as you can see, they have that handout. Randy and staff prepared what's titled A History of the Marquee Project. Pretty interesting reading. It takes me back 7 years. And I went through it pretty thoroughly this afternoon. But the bottom line, there were 4 sign companies that were sent RFPs, request for proposals. Great Signs, Express Signs, White Way Signs, and Landmark. And without getting into a great deal of detail, which I don't think you'd want me to do this evening, only Landmark submitted a proposal to meet our specifications. And those specifications were give us the costs and your thoughts on providing consultant services for design, and B, being the project consultant. And only Landmark, they were the only company that met those 2 criteria. One other thing that might be of interest, and I just jotted this down, this was an RFP, which is a little different than the bid process. And this was to be a solicited donation of private funds, whereas no public monies were to be used. So we double-checked this with council, and we crossed all our Ts accordingly on that area. So I think those were the only 2 questions he had.
Yes, you're right. Thank you for that clarification.
You're very welcome, Mr. Mayor. I have one other thing I'd like to comment on, and that is we have scheduled, the WCMEAA, we've scheduled a special meeting for this Thursday. Okay? Our normal meeting was for, I believe, January 28th, and I had a conversation, a discussion with our donor this morning, and there are certain things that he would like to see, and he would like to see that sooner than later, and he's leaving town, I believe, this weekend. And the bottom line is this. I heard the word transparency many times last night, and trust me, I get it. So we do have other business items. The marquee will be discussed Thursday, but we have other business items to discuss, one being some litigation we're involved in, and we have to appoint an ethics officer. So there are other things besides the marquee. But in terms of transparency, I sat with Kate Schott at lunch today. I informed the Herald News of the meeting, and Randy will get a hold of Scott Slocum tomorrow. So this is not going to be anything that's covert or clandestine. The public is welcome, and we will accommodate them.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you.
Can I ask a
You're
question?
welcome.
Yes.
If there's anything else, I'd be glad to.
Just one quick question, Jim. There was another question brought up. Why did you guys take a bid from 7 years ago and not rebid the process? That was another question that was hanging out there.
And that was a good question, but as you're standing up at the mic, sometimes you don't think that quickly.
Right.
The bottom line is we were satisfied with that particular design, and basically the company said they would hold their price. So didn't want to push that envelope too
Okay.
far.
That's
That was a
clarified.
good question, but again,
Now it's answered.
Thank you. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
thank you very much.
Next, under Mayor, Mayor Durrani appointments.
I have none. I will say this. Last night, a gentleman's name come up about the Rialto Board. I did talk to him this morning, and he excused himself. He's not interested anymore. So I need to talk to the second person.
Next is a proclamation honoring Joliet Ravens Youth Football Team, 2014 Super Bowl champions.
Right up here,
Coach here too, come on up.
right up here,
Around this way.
Congratulations.
again,
Yeah. I need a few.
right up in front.
You boys had a fantastic year this year. That's excellent, that's excellent. I think after reading this proclamation and seeing your,
Congratulations, huh?
seeing your record, I know I got a new team I'm supporting. It's not the Bears, it's the Ravens, the Joliet Ravens. But that's fantastic. You know, I'll tell you, there's nothing more to me, there's nothing more exciting to see young people succeed. And you guys have done an absolutely fantastic job in your season. And it's easy for us to sit back, on the council and just in general and say, wow, what a great season. I think we had, 11-1 and 12-0. But only you and your parents and your coaches know exactly how hard you worked to attain that success, right? It didn't come overnight, right? It didn't come by sitting at home watching TV and eating Twinkies, did it? No, a lot of effort, a lot of effort. And I'll tell you, a lot of that effort comes not only from what you did, okay, as an athlete, as a young athlete, and what your coaches did, but also what your parents did, okay? I bet there was a lot of fathers throwing footballs in the backyard, maybe hitting the weights a little bit, encouraging you to do that. I bet there was a lot of mothers taking you to practice every day, okay, making, amen, that's right, making sure that you got there on time, right? So when you go home tonight, after you leave here and everybody congratulates you, you make sure you thank your parents for all the hard work and all the effort and dedication that they put in so that you could have a successful season. But I can't tell you how thrilled it is for me to sit here and read this ordinance and congratulate you guys on a successful season. And keep working hard and do good in school, right? That's the most important thing. So let me read this proclamation here. Whereas the Joliet Ravens football and cheer program was started in 2011 by Francisco Bermudez. Since then, they have enjoyed a strong history of success in the River Valley Youth Football Conference. And the Joliet Ravens organization teaches, promotes, and inspires our youth with principles of good sportsmanship, physical fitness, teamwork, respect for others, fellowship, and fair play. The Ravens program stimulates our youth's interest in sports with proper supervision and teaches the fundamentals of football and cheerleading while providing constructive use of their leisure time. And the Ravens Superlight and varsity divisions both recently experienced another championship season. The Ravens Superlight team enjoyed an 11-1 record and their way to being Super Bowl champions, and the Ravens varsity team scored a perfect season with 12 wins and 0 losses as they too won the Super Bowl in their division. Congratulations, guys. I, Thomas Girardi, Mayor of City Joliet, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby congratulate the Joliet Ravens football and cheer program on their recent Super Bowl championships. Let's give these guys a hand. Coaches want to say a few words? No? That's okay. All right. Well, guys, why don't we, I don't know if we got some parents out here. We'd sure love to get some pictures. We don't have too many football teams in this state to celebrate, so we want to get some pictures here with these guys, if you don't mind.
Remove the podium out of the way, or no? You know what?
Good job. Good job, guys. Good work. Good work, guys. Sure.
Lights are going, the camera lights are going out. Good job.
Good work.
Can I borrow that trophy for
No.
Are you a tailback?
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay. Very good. Great job, guys.
Thanks. Nice job.
Mayor, I have one question for the coaches. Coaches, I got one question. None of you would come up there and talk at the mic, yet a lot of you may not realize I ref football as a hobby, and I ref this great team. You guys had a lot to say on the sideline. Why couldn't you come over to the mic?
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Nice job. That's good.
That's awesome.
What he said at the end.
You don't have to stick around if you don't want.
We don't want to spoil your season.
Can we go too?
Sometimes some of us up here want to leave.
Yeah, right. Gotta get my boy.
It's gonna be on a Christmas card.
Not really. Not too bad.
Guys
My
I worked with,
reputation
I'll have to make
is
sure that I,
surprised. My reputation is a hard ass.
For my person.
oh, I'm gonna send
It's in
that
high school
down.
too.
That's your medal from that?
Oh,
No cook?
this is my
Kind of a
runner-up.
pleasant season.
Because she
Field summer.
Egypt, yeah.
Field nurse.
One and only
Field summer.
babies.
GCA.
Was that last year?
Joliet West.
5 years ago, okay?
Next is the approval of the agenda.
And that's just luck of the draw. I don't have any choice in that.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Let's do Cemento.
Sometimes it looks like they do.
Okay. Fire one in the air, Joe.
Oh,
I lost.
No, you gotta
we
be,
make it for food though?
Is that right? How nice is that?
and they have 3 levels, not just recognized certified. It takes 6 years of certified minimum, and you gotta be certified to the playoffs.
Everybody's gone now.
That's a bureaucracy.
Next is the approval of the agenda. It's recommended the agenda be approved as written with the following change. Council Memo 6-15 be tabled to the January 20th, 2015 council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Krista?
Motion and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Burrow. Councilman Huggs.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Mayor Girani.
Aye.
Carried. Council committee reports. Public Safety Committee report.
Yes, Your Honor. The Public Safety Committee met this evening. It consists of Councilman Otterkirk, Councilman Morris, and myself. We basically had 2 items of business. The first item, let me just get to my meeting here. The first item of business, and we talked about it yesterday, was the purchase of 1 ambulance for $248,979. It's a sole source. This was budgeted in the 2015 budget. It's replacing a ambulance or a vehicle that we purchased in 1995. So we did get $500 for the ambulance. But as I said, it is budgeted for, and it certainly is needed. The second item of item that we discussed, or second item of business, I should say, that we discussed, was the request to participate in the State of Illinois Federal Surplus Program. What that basically is, it's going to allow our fire department to be registered with the state so we can bid on any items, any state surplus items. Basically, this will give them a certification number, and it will allow them to bid on any surplus items. So, for example, any item that comes up in the state or federal system that is used, and maybe that they believe that they can't use any longer, might be of benefit to us or any other municipality. So that's all this is doing, is just giving us that number to allow us to participate in that program. All items passed unanimously out of the committee, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilman.
Public Service Committee report.
Your Honor, the Public Service Committee comprised of Councilwoman Gavin, Councilman Farley, myself, met yesterday afternoon at 4:45 to review our agenda, which was a short agenda. It did not include any contracts, but included some change orders and final payments. We found them all to be in order and recommend their approval.
Thank you.
I show no other reports. Consent agenda. First is approval of minutes. It is recommended the minutes of the pre-council meeting held on December 15th and of the regular meeting held on December 16th stand approved as written. Council Memo 1-15, position vacancies. It's recommended the city manager be authorized to fill 6 police patrol officer positions, 2 police sergeants with subsequent vacancies, 1 police captain with subsequent vacancies, 1 firefighter paramedic position, 4 maintenance worker positions and subsequent vacancies, 1 building safety inspector position and subsequent vacancies, and 1 utilities operations engineer and subsequent vacancies. Council Memo 2-15, city manager compensation. A 2% annual salary increase for the city manager is placed before council for consideration. Is there a motion to approve said consent agenda items?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded to approve, Councilman Girl,
Aye.
Councilman Hug,
Aye.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk,
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman,
Aye.
Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin,
Aye.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Under ordinances and resolutions, Council Memo 5-15, an ordinance approving the preliminary plat of Rock Run Business Park Unit 5G, and an ordinance approving the recording plat of Rock Run Business Park Unit 5G. It is recommended said ordinances be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Krista?
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 6-15 was tabled. Council Memo 7-15, an ordinance approving the vacation of a 50 or 55.5-foot portion of Mamena Street located west of 121 South Hunter Avenue. It is recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
In motion seconded to approve, Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk,
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman,
Aye.
Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin,
Aye.
Councilman Girl,
Aye.
Councilman Hug,
Aye.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 8-15, an ordinance amending the Joliet Liquor Code, Class J. It is recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
In motion and seconded to approve, Councilman Otterkirk,
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman,
Aye.
Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin,
Aye.
Councilman Girl,
Aye.
Councilman Hug,
Aye.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 9-15, an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow a temporary staffing agency in an existing commercial building located at 300 South Larkin Avenue. It is recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Quillman,
Aye.
Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin,
Aye.
Councilman Girl,
Aye.
Councilman Hug, Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk,
Aye.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Under resolutions, Council Memo 11-15, a resolution approving an amendment to the annexation agreement for Laraway Road Distribution Center subdivision. It is recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Krista?
The motion and seconded to approve, Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin,
Aye.
Councilman Girl,
Aye.
Councilman Hug,
Aye.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk,
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman,
Aye.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 12-15, a resolution requesting the authorization to register with the Illinois Department of Central Management Services. It is recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Gavin,
Aye.
Councilman Girl,
Aye.
Councilman Hug,
Aye.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk,
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman,
Aye.
Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 13-15, a resolution appropriating MFT funds for the Hutchins Street roadway project. It is recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Krista?
Motion and seconded to approve. Councilman Girl,
Aye.
Councilman Hug,
Aye.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk,
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman,
Aye.
Councilman Turk,
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin,
Aye.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 14-15, resolution authorizing the sale of city-owned property to the adjacent property owners. It is recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Questions?
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Hug,
Aye.
Councilman Morris,
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye. Mayor
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Under bids and contracts, award of contracts. Council Memo 16-15, purchase one Horton ambulance for the fire department. It's recommended 16-15 be approved.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Amendments, change orders, and payments. Council Memo 18-15, approved change order number 1 for the combined sewer overflow long-term control plan Des Plaines River Combined Sewer Overflow Tunnel Project. Council Memo 19-15, approved change order number 2 and payment estimate number 5 and final for the Hutchins Street roadway project. Council Memo 20-15, approved change order number 2 and payment request number 8 for the Cherry Hill Road and New Lenox Road roadway improvement projects 2014. It's recommended Council Memos 18-15 through 20-15 be approved.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Krista? I'm sorry.
I just want to point out that even there's a change order here, it's still lower than all the other bids that came in, even though there's a big change order on that one. I just wanted to point that out to folks.
Thank you, Krista.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Otterkirk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Mayor Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is city manager report.
Jim?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to review with you the Evergreen Terrace situation. As you know, last week, the city submitted our appraisals, along with the owners submitting their appraisal to the court. And now there will be a period of time where the parties can meet and try and negotiate a settlement before a trial date of March 10th begins. This morning, staff met with Holston Management Group, who we've employed to help develop a plan for Evergreen Terrace. And I'd like to review with you that discussion this morning. We really broke it down into 3 primary areas, first being acquisition, then the management, and then the redevelopment of the property. So when it comes to acquisition, we will now try to attempt this negotiation of the property and see if we can come to an agreeable number in between what they've said their appraised value is and what our appraised value is. If we're unsuccessful in that, then we'll proceed to court, and a decision will be received within 5 days or immediately at the end of the trial. So by March 20th, we should have a number from the court, what it'll cost the city. At that point in time, we will have to issue a general obligation bond for this purchase. But how much that general obligation bond will be is iffy at this point, because we don't know what that number will be. Also, we're working to have the $3.2 million that HUD had withheld for the last 4 years, along with the potential $900,000 for 2015 directed towards that purchase, which would reduce the amount of money we would have to borrow for any kind of bond issue. Also, we checked to see if HUD would allow us to assume the existing $12 million mortgage that they have with the owners, and they said that that's not possible. So we will have to have a GO bond coming up with the amount for acquisition. Then we've employed Holston Real Estate Development Corporation, who has vast experience to actually manage the property and operate the property on our behalf. During that period of time, these 2 properties generate over $4.5 million annually in revenue from the vouchers that we obtain from HUD for the occupants in the building. Then we're going to talk about redevelopment. Holston is trying to make arrangements to get inside all of the buildings in both Evergreen Terrace 1 and 2 as soon as possible, and we'll try and have the idea is before the end of January to have a meeting with all of the residents in the area, and they will present several ideas, several plans, break down in groups, and try and get resident feedback as to what is the preferred development for the Evergreen Terrace properties. At that point in time, Holston will then propose a redevelopment plan to the city council for your feedback, and share that concept with HUD as well. So the things you do have to be concerned about is that redevelopment is typically funded up to 80% through tax credits. Those tax credits are issued through various institutions, but the most common is going to IDA. And this will require 2 to 3 years to obtain. So the city can demolish any number of buildings as soon as we take possession, but when you take possession and demolish it, then the revenue is gone because nobody's going to be living there anymore. So the idea, I believe, is to rent and manage and time things so that you get the revenue through the tax credits for the redevelopment, and then tear down the buildings, just prior to the actual redevelopment or whatever the plan is for the property. Rebuild or rehabilitate, that's something that Holston wants to examine, but he's got to get inside the buildings and take a look at them first before he can assess and evaluate the conditions and whether or not that's even a possibility for one or more of the buildings. And as you know, part of the decision from HUD is that anybody who would be relocated in any one of the buildings that would be demolished would be given adequate prior notification and receive mobility counseling in accordance with the settlement, and be offered 2 alternative sites that they could use their vouchers within the city of Joliet, which they can choose to use here or anyplace else, because the vouchers are portable throughout the United States. So a person can stay in Joliet or they can move someplace else. So any new construction envisioned for the site would be a combination of Section 8, senior housing, assisted, and market rate housing. So that's the immediate conversation that we had today, providing you an update. And we'll keep you posted on every step of the way, and when a tentative date becomes a firm date for this resident meeting for those in the area.
Questions?
I do. Jim, you referred to the CDBG money, the money they withheld from us, and then, of course, we anticipate they'll give us in 2016 or 2015?
2015.
2015, 900 grand?
Yes.
So what programs will be cut? I mean, we weren't sitting on the money for the last 15 years. We use it every year for a program. If we're going to redirect this money, what are we going to cut? You need to know that.
Well, we haven't spent the money. We haven't had the money. They held on to the $3.2 million for the last 4 years and just released it to us when we got the settlement this past fall. So we haven't been spending money on anything.
No, not during the freeze, but prior to that,
That's
we
right.
were. Prior to that, we were using our CDBG for defined programs. And which
Yes.
programs are we going to cut going forward?
Well, this would only be for 2015. Starting in 2016, we would go back to utilizing.
And it would also be for the 3 years prior. We won't go back and do those programs. We'll use that money for Evergreen.
Yes.
Okay.
That's council's choice.
Okay. No, just
It would reduce the amount of the bond that we would have to borrow for the purchase price.
conversation, was this going over the plan that had already been devised 2 years ago?
Well, the plan that was submitted by Holston back in 2012 was really just various ideas and scenarios.
Right, it was
for you to consider. It wasn't
speculation, right.
Wasn't a firm plan, as is tonight. Tonight, I'm not telling you about any kind of firm plan. That won't come forward to you, and it won't be firm until you decide what it is that you want to see there.
which is after we purchase it.
But we're going to consult with the residents in the area and the residents in the units themselves.
Now, you said, you described this as being, for some period of time, the city of Joliet, the residents of Joliet will be landlords, correct?
I'm sorry, say that again,
Described
Councilman?
that for some period of time, the residents of Joliet, the city of Joliet will
Yes.
be landlords.
Yes,
And if I heard you right, you said for roughly 3 years, if it all goes well, to get the tax credits through IDA.
yes,
And then maybe within a year or two after that, you can break ground, tear things down, and start to redevelop.
right,
Okay, so we're going to collect revenues
yes.
as a landlord for 3 years and use that to pay the yearly service on the bond. How are we paying the bond after that? After we tear them down, how are we paying the bond? We don't have revenues from it anymore.
Well, you will have revenue from the redevelopment, because, again, 80% of, let's say the bond debt is a million and operations is another $500,000, even another $1 million a year, you're going to have a profit of $2.5 million a year for a 3-year period. When you get these tax credits, you may be able to refund some of those bonds, depending upon the cost of the redevelopment. And so, but until we know what that redevelopment is that we want to see there, and what the estimated costs of that redevelopment is, I really can't answer your question. Well, we just need a couple of months here to get further down the path to get to that point.
And I understand that. I just wanted to clarify, because I think this is the first
Sure.
substitute
And
meeting
let me
we've had.
clarify, the city as a landlord, that's really why we're employing Holston Management Company. They are going to manage the properties, they're going to handle the vouchers, they're going to do all the maintenance and upkeep and plowing and improvements to, lawn mowing and improvements. We don't have staff, we don't have the expertise to be landlords. And HUD doesn't want to see us as a landlord. They want to see a partnership with a company like Holston in terms of spending HUD funds, some company that has experience in that area.
And what is the breakdown of net and gross revenues currently with Evergreen Property? Of the 4.5 million?
I don't know what their operational expenditures are at this point.
So I'll just summarize. We don't have any set funding sources. We have ideas of what we might be able to do. We're going to use the CDBG money. We are going to be de facto landlords for a period of 3 years or beyond. And we don't know how much money we're going to get from being a landlord to pay down the debt. Am I accurate on that? There's no guarantees on any of this yet.
Well, there is a guarantee, as soon as we take possession, we're going to get the money from the vouchers from HUD, which amounts to in excess of $4.5 million a year.
But we don't know how much will be net.
No.
So we don't know how much money we're going to have available through the collection of rents to pay the debt.
No, I
Okay,
don't.
thanks. That's all I need to know.
Anybody else?
Yeah. Jim, first of all, thank you for bringing this forward. I know I've been asking for some time, so I'm glad you're taking the steps. These discussions we need to have, and we need to have them publicly.
You bet.
There's been too much done behind closed doors. I think it's good to have this out in public. What will, going forward, if Holstein's managing the property, what are we paying them, or what is their take, their monthly take for doing this?
I'm sorry, I don't have the answer
Yeah,
to that.
and I'm not trying to zing you.
No.
But,
I'll take notes and.
Well, yeah, if we're
information.
estimating 4 or 4.5 million gross, the only way we're going to get to what a net income would be is what we have to pay Holston to manage the property.
And the maintenance on the properties.
Right, and liability
sure.
and all the
Yep.
other issues. But certainly what we're paying them monthly it would be a hard number, not
Yes.
something we can guess at.
That's right.
And I guess I have a couple concerns. One is that it seems likely, and I'm not surprised because I've heard this, and we talked about it even last night, But it seems likely for the foreseeable future, Evergreen Terrace isn't going to come down. It's going to operate, just going to be a different owner, us and a different management company. I think Gidwitz or whatever that group has a management company that currently is operating it. So
Yes.
we're going to replace them with Holstein.
Yes.
A couple other issues then. If Holstein is going to be making the recommendations on what to do, I guess we need to be aware that it may be against their interest to recommend tearing down Evergreen Terrace. They may see Evergreen Terrace as a cash cow for themselves if they can operate for another 5 or 10 years and make X amount of dollars over that time. I think it's something as a city we should, not, and I'm trying to demean the Holstein group, but they have an interest in keeping Evergreen there, I believe. So that certainly isn't what I want to see. I'd like to see it go away. I'm not sure if our management company is going to agree or if they're going to take a different position.
Councilman Odekirk, if we tear down all 4 buildings in Evergreen Terrace 1, as an example, and then we rebuild with the combination Section 8 senior assisted market rate, they will continue to manage those properties, those rental units, and they would get income, or, you know, still have a fee, we'd be paying a fee per unit for managing those new properties as well. So there's not necessarily an incentive on their part to keep those buildings in place.
Correct, if that's the option. You know, I said last night in private that the yardstick keeps getting moved on this. I thought one of the options that was being discussed was private redevelopment, that someone goes in and builds condos or townhomes. If that was the case, then Holstein would be out of the picture. A real estate developer is going to come in, is going to buy that land and build X amount of homes along the waterfront at what they think they can make a profit on.
I believe that still is a possibility, an option.
Okay. Well, it's preliminary, and I don't want to get lost in the details. I'm glad you did this. I think it raises a lot of questions. I think Councilman Hugg's line of questioning is well-founded. We're talking about spending, we don't know, $20 million. You say in your, and again, this is, I'm not putting this on you, but that Holstein needs to get into the buildings to see the state of the buildings. In my opinion, this should have been done a long time ago. We've spent $5 or $6 million in legal fees, and we're not even sure what we're buying. I don't think you can answer, are there asbestos in those buildings? Or if anyone on staff maybe can answer those questions, because I know that the cost of tearing them down will be exponentially higher than if it's not. I think before we start floating a bond, we should get some idea of what the overall number is. It may not be a $15 million bond, it may be a $30 or $40 million bond. So I don't want to do this in half measures. I'd like a full picture before we decide to do this. But having said that, thank you for bringing this forward, and I'm very curious to see where this leads in the next few months.
Couple things. I'm sorry?
Whenever you're through.
Oh, I've looked down there before. Go right ahead.
Jim, just a couple things. First is we actually talked about yesterday in executive session with respect to the financing. And I don't know if you answered this question or not, but my understanding is that there's some favorable financing on this deal right now, HUD financing, which, you know, is, I think, maybe around 90 or 100 basis points, which is very favorable in today's market. Did you discuss at all with Holstein as far as any opportunities with assuming that debt, which would then require, would certainly require less capital outlay on our behalf? Did you discuss that at all with them?
I don't think we got into it that deep.
Specifics?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, as your conversations progress, if you would make sure if you could put that on your to-do
Sure.
list, because I think that's
Yeah.
going to be very important. Did you talk about as far as ownership structure? I know one of my concerns is obviously risk and liability, but there are probably ways we can structure that transaction as far as through an LLC or C corporation or something like that, which would limit the liability of the city. Holstein, have any ideas on that? Or was
Yeah,
that-
we did talk about that, and let me make it clear that HUD in the settlement said that we have to have an LLC and include somebody else, you know, as part of that. And by that, I mean, no city in the country is a landlord, for Section 8 housing. They are all private sector corporations,
Right.
like Holston Management. It could be somebody else who HUD wants to see a city partner with in terms of the operation, because they need to have a comfort level, because we've never been a landlord, and
Nor
they
will
don't-
we be.
And we don't want to be, that's true. But HUD doesn't have a comfort level with a city saying, oh, we can do it now, and we can be a landlord. So the LLC really isn't going to protect us from liability. They will still, if somebody sues because they got hurt on the property, they're going to sue the LLC and us. And so the LLC isn't really going to be a real protection from liability, because everybody looks for the deep pockets, and municipalities have deeper pockets than anybody else. So that's the extent of what we talked about.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Sure.
Mayor, just to let you know, I have a comment on if you want me to go before or after you.
Go right ahead.
Okay, your choice. Let me give you your choice. Two questions that came up. Councilman Girl brought up the risk exposure, and you answered it well. Before I asked the question, Councilman Odekirk kind of outshined me. I was so focused on my questions. I do want to thank you, Jim. You've come into this game after a long time, and you've really kind of gotten up to speed, and you're trying to move forward. I'm bringing forward a true material plan that was claimed to exist and doesn't. So thank you. I didn't mean to go, brush past that and be so brusque with my questions, but I'm really focused on the question. But thank you for doing what you're doing. And you got a big mess to clean up, and I appreciate what you're doing. What about the 110 units that were required to keep or to replace physically? And that was under the agreement with the feds on the civil rights lawsuit. Was it civil rights, right?
Yeah.
What about that 110 units?
That may be on-site, or it can be off-site.
So we have to either keep the existing 110
Yes.
or purchase or build physically new 110 units?
Yes.
Okay.
And part of that settlement was that those half a dozen people in the lawsuit would be given the first right to move into
Right.
that new development if that was what we did.
Right, yeah, we had voted on that and agreed that those folks would drop their lawsuit if we gave it to them, if we in fact move forward.
Yes.
And then just following up on Councilman Girl's question is, we certainly are exposed, being in the insurance industry, we are exposed, and not just in a deep pockets way, in a legitimate way. Every partner in that LLC is exposed to some degree or another. And I can tell you, because I'm sure nobody has the answer for me right now, including myself, I haven't crunched the numbers, that an all-encompassing indemnifying policy, commercial policy for that, to indemnify us, would all but eat up most of that $4.5 million a year. So we're going to go into this exposed to huge lawsuits should people fall downstairs or what have you. But thank you, Jim, again.
I think we'll have to take a look at our liability exposure as we do our liability in every other area of the city. We self-insure up to a certain portion and then insure that excess amount.
There are some negatives, no question, what it's going to cost us. The negative is if, in fact, we don't do this, what's going to stop it in 2 years from now to going back the way it was? And the way it was, someone up here asked Chief Benton to do a crime study in the areas, and I believe it was the highest crime area in the city of Joliet, and we will not have any control, okay? The positives, if we take it over and we control it, we can control that problem, which the previous owner had not done. Has it changed? Absolutely has changed. Has it gotten better? Yes. But I think it's a long way from, if we take it over, how we can operate it. So there are some negatives and positives. It'll be better living quarters for the people that remain there. As we all talked, some of the living quarters were single-family mothers and one-bedroom apartments, and we can do something about it. So there are negatives and positives. Right now, we're not sure about the money. We're not sure how much it's going to cost, but I think we have to weigh both of them. That's all I have to say.
Your Honor?
Yes, Mike.
Just one last comment. I'm sorry, go ahead, Benny.
Wait a minute. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'd just like to say that I'd like to thank, some of the council people who are no longer here, who started this thing many years ago, especially two, Councilman Brophy and Councilman Doris, who made numerous trips to Washington to try and iron this thing out. I think regardless of what's being said, that we're much closer to giving the people who are living in public housing there a much better quality of life, and the neighborhood around it a much better quality of life. So I think, this is a great start with your meeting, and I think it looks like you're going to meet pretty quick with residents who live there, which is another good thing, so.
Thank you. Councilwoman?
I basically wanted to talk about the quality of life of the residents who live there, and if whatever we could do to enhance that quality of life. But I sort of want to go back to a point where you talked about the LLC and what exposure we have through that. Is there an opportunity, or does HUD see the value of maybe partnering with a 501c3? Is that, there are certainly a lot of opportunities under 501c3s to collaborate with. Is that an opportunity?
Sure, but what they're looking for is partnering with a company who has had years of experience managing public housing already.
Are you done?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be frank, I think Councilman Gavin may have the answer going forward. I think that's the direction if we're going to do this. And I certainly don't want to see those buildings there 5 years from now, but if we're going to do this, I think a 501c3 would have availability to federal money that we can never touch. That's really the bottom line on this, is this something that's feasible? It was a nice idea, but, Councilman Turk, you talk about when this was started years ago, the whole landscape has changed. Between when this started and today, there was a federal lawsuit from Eric Holder, from the United States Attorney General, suing the city of Joliet. We settled that lawsuit, but in doing so, we tied our hands, and we are not able to do today what we wanted to do in 2005 when this began. But having said that, I think, Councilwoman Gavin, I'd like to see that pursued. And that goes back to the comments I made about Holstein. It's not in their best interest to see that, because they'll be out of a job. But I think as a city, we need to stay on top of this and look at all the options, because I do think ultimately that may be the best way to go.
Bob, I understand what you're saying, it has changed, but I still think the ultimate goal is going to be a better quality for everybody in the city and the residents there. And I think that's what one of the motives was when we started the whole thing.
To the goal, but how do we get to that goal?
Thank you. New business, not for final action. Anyone? Comments? Betty?
Yes, sir. I have a comment. First of all, happy, prosperous New Year to everybody. But there have been some groups around town that have been doing some meetings, some concerned citizens. I want to commend those groups this evening for their diligence in the meetings to address the recent high rise in crime. And so I would like to ask those groups, if they're out there listening tonight, that I know there are several pockets of groups, but if we could come together and begin to organize a plan, a strategic plan of action that will include business leaders, community service organizations, our municipalities, and other entities, and how we will ensure that the community gives safe passage to all of its residents, and then ensure that we can reduce crime. And so I would like for those groups who are meeting, you know who you are, please contact myself or Councilman Morris, and let's talk about a date that we can come into one unit, be all on the same page where we're working together to make a better community. And so if they're out there, please contact me through my email. And I believe Councilman Morris as well. And then we can all work together in reducing the crime, making safe passage for our residents, and attracting new business. This does attract new business once we get everything in order. Chief Benton has been working diligently with the community neighborhood councils and his staff. And so we're all on one page. We want to see this get done. So let's do that. And let's go to work. We got a lot of work ahead of us.
John?
I have no comments, Your Honor.
Just briefly, I would like to publicly extend my condolences to Father Chris on the loss of his mom. It was just a little less than a year ago, Father Chris, that you came out and shared in our mourning to bury my mother. And I don't think I ever publicly thanked you for coming out and officiating and presiding over that. And so now, you know, we only have one mom. And my deepest condolences to you and your mom in the loss of your mom. And other than that, Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo Councilwoman Gavin.
You got me that quick.
So I won't go and repeat that, but there are several organizations out there that have come forward doing some great things, and we just need to get together. If I could, I'd just like to go back to the Evergreen Terrace for a second. I might have missed my opportunity when we were discussing it, but I just want to be clear that the $3.2 million from the federal government that was withheld, that's in the letter or in this in the minutes, so to speak, from the meeting, is a possibility. So we could use all of it, or we could possibly use some of it for some of the programs that Councilman Hugg was speaking about, that it was withheld for the 3 years ago, I guess, for the last 3 years.
4 years, yeah.
4 years, okay. So that's just a possibility that we could go. That would be the council's decision at that time.
Yeah, we would have to go through some public hearings during January and February on the programming of those funds. And we do have to have those funds expended by November 1st of 2015.
Okay. But I'm just saying, if you're just basically saying that's a possibility to reduce the
Yes.
bond debt, bond debt. So
Right.
we could use all of it or some of it.
And we have met with HUD officials in Chicago, and they've given us, you know, tacit verbal approval, but they said, you know, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, and to get our approval, so.
And the only other point I want to mention, and I may be a little off with this as well, Holstein has done a great job with the city of Chicago and their housing authority, Chicago Housing Authority, with the Cabrini Green project that they redeveloped. I guess the only difference with ours here is that we don't own Evergreen Terrace at this point, where the city of Chicago or the Chicago Housing Authority own that property that Cabrini Green was on. So as they demolished it, they didn't have to pay someone for the property, as in this particular case. That's, I guess, kind of what
true.
we kind of hung up at, where we have this bill that we don't even know how much it's going to be at this point. So, but so is Holstein, is this a new territory for them? Did they mention that, or?
No, they said they've done this dozens of times at different locations in Chicago as well as the metro area.
Even with the fact of the new owner having to pay the
Yes.
the previous owner?
Yeah.
Okay. And so even with that, they, as Councilman Odekirk has stated, so they're still feeling that there be enough revenue in there to pay the bond debt and keep up, because at this point, we want better than what for the residents than what we've had.
That's right.
So, I mean, and I know, we don't know what the present Evergreen Terrace owners or management is paying. We don't know, as you stated earlier, what their debt is, or for the day-to-day operation is.
Right.
But Holstein feels confident enough for what they're getting from the federal government that that'll be enough to pay the debt down, the bond debt, as well as keep up and even improve the conditions for Evergreen Terrace residents and the community around it.
At first blush, at first look, you know. We won't know till we know what we're going to pay for the property, what kind of condition the existing property is in, and immediate maintenance concerns, you know, that have to be made to bring it up to minimum conditions, living conditions right now. And, but they seem pretty comfortable with the project, so. And hopefully, a month from now, we'll be taking a look at their presentation based on resident feedback as to what a preferred redevelopment of the property is. We'll hopefully know whether or not we'll have some kind of settlement prior to initiating the court case on the condemnation on the value of the property, and we'll have our head around some better numbers.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Sure.
Thank you. First, I'd just like to wish everyone a Happy New Year. Second, I'd like to thank our city workers who did the snow plowing. They were plowing throughout the night and this morning. There's pretty bad conditions out there, so thank you to them. And then finally, just ask everyone to keep safe the next couple days. There's extreme cold coming in, as we know. And also a reminder, if you have elderly neighbors, if you can keep an eye on them, they may be needing this assistance. Thank you.
You didn't have to look over here when you said that.
Just slipped.
Just a couple of things. This is the height of the flu season right now, and just a couple of things, if you could keep in mind and practice this. Washing your hands every time you touch a doorknob or you go in the house. When you finish at the grocery store, wash your hands, wash your hands. Do not cough in your hand and then shake someone's hand. That spreads germs. You're supposed to cough into your elbow. That's the way we do it now. You cough in your hand, you say hi to somebody, you pass the cold flu virus on. So you just do those things. You use your tissue, get rid of it right away. Don't lay it on the counter. Don't touch your hands to everything, because that's how germs get spread. They lay on those doorknobs for at least 2 weeks, if not longer. And that's how people get sick. They go, well, no one was sick in my house. Yeah, but you touched this, you touched that, or someone coughed in their hand, they shook your hand. That's how you get it. So that's the medical side of me. Second of all, we've had a request for a CTS meeting, so I wanted to throw that out to the committee members. If you could make it January 12th, 4:30. If not, we can reschedule. It hasn't been scheduled yet. I'm just throwing it out there so you guys can check your schedules. Okay? And also, my stance on Evergreen Terrace from day one has always been a quality of life issue for the residents that live there. And I'm not going to change that stance, and I'm going to continue to fight for that as long as I'm on this council. And I'd like to welcome our new city attorney for he's had a rough couple of days here, and welcome. And he and I have a long-standing joke, and he survived it very well, so thanks, Mike. Marty, I'm sorry. Oh, sure, okay. I've been asked to give a report from the electoral board that the hearing that took place here this afternoon. Mayor Girani was to chair the meeting, but he felt the need to recuse himself since he did appoint Betty to the board. And so therefore it went to the second senior council person since Councilman Turk was already on the board. So it consisted of Michael Turk, Krista Desiderio, the clerk, and myself as chair. We had quite a meeting. Quite a few people were here. Councilwoman Gavin was here with her attorney. Mr. Foster was here representing himself. The meeting went on for about an hour. And at the end, after all the evidence or lack thereof of evidence that was shown, the objection was denied, and Councilwoman Ms. Gavin will be on the ballot for April 7th for District 4. But I do want to add, too, that all the people that were here were allowed to speak, voice their opinions, and no time limits were put on anyone. So people that were here were allowed to talk. So just to put that out there for the issue of fairness and transparency, that's how the hearing was conducted, and that was the final, after everything was discussed, that was the final decision made by the electoral board. So Happy New Year to everyone, and I'll pass it on. Councilman Turk.
Your Honor, just one quick thing. There's been some discussion about the CDBG money that's been withheld and what programs were cut. Jim, could you look back and make a list of what programs, since they started withholding the funds, what hasn't transpired with those programs? And then also, as Councilman Oderkirk pointed out, things change over a period of time, like the Evergreen Terrace lawsuit has taken twists and turns. But, maybe some of those things that CDBG was used for may not be appropriate at 4 years later. One I could think of was probably some technology took care of that. So, but if we could look at them to see what was funded then, what hasn't been funded, and if it's still a necessity or not. So,
I will.
thank you.
I just say Happy New Year, Healthy New Year, and stay warm. Thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.